Welcome to this week's Man Enough Podcast Rapid Fire Questions.
When was the last time you cried?
Oh my God, this morning. It's my skincare routine.
Your skincare routine?
Yeah.
Hey.
Same.
Fresh tears.
When was the last time you apologized to someone?
This morning, I apologized to myself.
70 years in the future, you are a ghost at your own funeral. What are you hoping is said about the way you moved through the world?
ALOK tried their best. Period.
And finally, what does it mean? We can actually say, what does it mean to be man enough or enough?
It means to be valued for what is, not what should be. It means to be present on this earth, to laugh and hear your own laughter, to cry and feel your own tears, to smile and feel the own musculature of your own face. It means a profound and sacred intimacy and poetry and interconnectivity of no longer feeling like you have to formulate your body into some pre-existent template or algorithm or equation, but just being valued for the irrevocable fact of your beautiful existence.
Thank you to our partners at P&G, the makers of brands like Tide, Swiffer, Mr. Clean, Pantene, and Braun, for helping to make the Man Enough podcast possible and for sponsoring these fun and real moments with our guests. Well,
All right.
you are enough. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thanks for having me.
So appreciate it. We will be, Jamie's taking off his headphones. We will be right back with a recap. Thank you so much for listening to Man Enough. Hello and welcome back to Man Enough. I'm Justin Baldoni here with the wonderful Liz Plank and Jamie Heath. And we just had a powerful conversation with ALOK. And so if you're still with us, thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for listening to their words and their pain and their struggle and their wisdom. It was, we were silent a lot after they talked because
Every time they spoke, every time it was like a mic drop.
Mic drop, every time.
And all of us were like, whoa. And even, I think that for myself, this has been a learning process.
Yeah.
For not just for myself, for many.
No,
but also just because
too.
of like what it challenges us and like, what you've learned and what you've been taught and just all of this. And they were so gracious with allowing us to ask questions and gracious with answering them in a way that we could hear them. And also what I really got was them pleading for their life.
Yeah.
And I was moved by that for sure.
Yeah, so often in these conversations, ALOK pointed out, we think this is like a new thing, right? The gender non-binary people are new, and it's a weird, I think they use the term like millennial, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not, right? It's not, first of all, gender non-binary people have been there since the start, and there's been a genocide against them since the start. And they have been at the forefront of feminism. They have been at the forefront of movements for gender equality. So many people ask me, I'm sure they'll ask you on your book tour, why don't more men talk about this? Or why don't more people talk about masculinity? And I point to people like ALOK. I point to people like Thomas Page McBee, who is an incredible author who writes about his transition. And he gets erased. And we've even had conversations where he says, people will listen to you more than they listen to me. Yeah. And I thought ALOK's point about, are you fighting for privilege or are you fighting for freedom, right? Which echoes Audre Lorde's famous quote, that we can't dismantle the master's house with the master's tools, right? Yeah. That we can't reproduce patriarchy. in conversations around masculinity. We cannot and the goal for particularly, as a white woman, white women love to be foot soldiers of the patriarchy, just to get a little taste.
Yeah, that was a
little
really
benefit.
that was really interesting. First of all, I mean, again, learning so much in real time here, which is uncomfortable at times. But I didn't know about the feminists attacking. That was a very interesting thing to hear, especially the way they put it.
And it's not feminism, right? And ALOK pointed that out, and I think it's important to say that's not my feminism. And it's just not feminism to be trans exclusive or to be exclusive, to anyone. And I think again the same thing with masculinity. If there are people men who are fighting for masculinity and for their liberation, it needs to be tied to the liberation of everybody else, or else it's not, it's not true to the movement, and it's actually like co-opting it for personal gain.
So it's
privilege.
It's one of the reasons why we talked about undefining it, because all redefining it would be is drawing a new line that would exclude people, and that's the last thing we want to do. I also, it was another thing that hit me was when they talked about how when they can say something, not be heard, and then someone like myself with straight white privilege and a platform could regurgitate a version of it and get all this accolade and praise. And at the end of the day, they don't need praise. They just want to have their life valued as much as anybody else and have freedom. And that really struck me. That really struck me.
And I appreciate too, like you had just said something that he said, and then you corrected yourself and said they. And I think for us to pretend that we have it perfect, because before we spoke to them, I was so worried that I was going to say the wrong thing or right thing or wrong thing. What I think was pointed out was that when we make effort, we recognize what it means to them, rather than my own attachment to words and all of this other stuff, which is just another form of oppression and all this stuff, rather than seeing the truth. How I appreciated that. And I appreciate you, just like, rather than saying, oh, I used the wrong phrase, so let's cut it out and make me look better. The idea is that we will stumble because they kept talking about
There's no
that.
making me look better on this podcast.
But they really, really spoke to that. And the other point that I loved that they did, which ties something that Liz has been saying, was ultimately you have talked about the liberation of women isn't just beneficial to women, but it's beneficial to men as well.
Yeah.
And they spoke of the same thing.
Yep.
That the protection and liberation and the full empowerment of their experience is only also if we could see that it helps us also. It's not it's one or the other.
All of our freedoms are inextricably tied together. And the same system oppresses everyone, but unfortunately not in the same way. And that's the big takeaway. Look, we're going to be thinking about that. I'm going to re-listen to that one. I can't listen to my voice. That's one of my things, but this will be one that I re-listen to.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Good.
It'll be worth it. If you weren't taking notes, or if you just, for the first time ever heard somebody like ALOK speak, go back and re-listen, follow them and see the work that they're up to, and
support their work.
And support,
right?
and support them,
With
and
money.
And recognize that there is, as they said, a genocide happening in front of our eyes.
And the truth is, at the end, for those listening, I get and understand that there will be some that fully support their experience. And then there will be many who have struggles.
Yeah, don't get it.
But you don't have to get it and have to fully, what did they say? You don't have to understand something to have compassion
That was
about.
the big thing that they said. And that's one of the things that hit me the hardest, was you don't have to comprehend something to have compassion for them.
That's right.
And you don't have to agree with a life choice, but you do have to have compassion for that
humanity
person and want that person to live a life and thrive and succeed and have love and joy and all
freedom,
of the
and
things
not have
that you
to walk
would
down
want.
the street worried about being spit on and
exactly
all of what the hell.
So like, yeah, hell yeah, that was thank you for bringing that up. You don't have to have comprehension to have compassion, and we're doing it backwards. We try to understand so that we can have compassion. No, they're human beings. We need to have compassion. At the end of the day, that's one of the most important things for me that I took away from this.
Sweet. Yep.
Yeah. So thank you. If you like these kinds of conversations
Good
and
stuff.
and you enjoy learning with us in real time, please stick with us, like us, and follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. And come back and hang out with us some more, because we're going deep and it gets uncomfortable, but boy, is it worth it. Boy, is it worth it. So I'm Justin Baldoni.
I'm Liz Plank.
And I'm Jamie Heath.
And this is Man Enough.